Well, welcome everyone. We're so pleased this afternoon to have Dr. Helena Krupa with us, and we're going to be talking about spring detoxifying your family, or is detox good even for your kids or for yourself? And I'm Elena Giacomin-Dennis, and I will be identifying and introducing myself in just a little bit, but we want to make sure that you understand that Dr. Helena Krupa is a chiropractor in private practice in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and she specializes in holistic health care for kids. And she believes that every kid can heal and grow, provided that they remove any interference into their innate ability to do so. And Helena graduated from the Life University, Georgia in 2005. She's a certified bionutritional care provider with the Hope for Autism organization. She's a doula. She's a certified infant massage instructor. But the most important training, she says, was real life in the raising of her two girls, Kaya and Sage. And both of her girls were born at home with midwives, and those little girls get adjusted on a regular basis and continue to teach Helena how to help them grow. And I'm Elena Giacomin-Dennis, and I'm a lot of things. I'm a wife, a mom, a grandma, a daughter, a friend, a mentor, an entrepreneur. And for the past 35 years, I've been fortunate enough to be associated with a wonderful company called Shaklee Corporation. And I have impacted and worked with a lot of highly motivated and serious women that want to change their lives and want to have their lives touched and their families' lives touched, so that they can live a happy, healthy, and meaningful life, full of passion as well. So today, Helena, we're going to be talking about our body's natural ability to cleanse in the springtime. And so talk to us a little bit about how we can enhance this process, especially with our children, and give parents and grandparents a comfort knowing that detoxifying is really kind of a natural process for our bodies.
Sure, Elena, I'm happy to do that. And thank you for having me on the call. So in the springtime, our body naturally begins this process. And if I'm sure you have friends and family members who in the springtime, they dread it because it's the allergy season, right? A lot of people are experiencing symptoms around this time of the year. And a lot of times just wondering why, what's going on? Why do I get so symptomatic in the springtime? So simply put, our body goes through this process naturally, meaning we don't have to think about it. It just happens automatically. And therefore, it's like cleaning house. We get symptomatic because naturally the body tries to get rid of the toxins and the virus and bacteria and mold and things that we're exposed to. Is it safe to detox your kids? We're used to, as adults, right? We sometimes do, mini detoxes. Oh, I'm doing a detox. I'm trying to lose weight, or I'm trying to just deal with some kind of health crisis. I specialize in kids, and I see that kids also experience these symptoms. And now more and more, I'm seeing that they're on some serious medications because mom and dad are trying to manage these seasonal allergies. So is it safe for them to detox? Yes. Do kids go through this process as well? Yes. They have the same innate intelligence in their bodies as adults do, that tries to, clean the body. You just have to have the right products and follow some common sense guidelines, because I'm sure we have all heard of people just exacerbating their symptoms or feeling really, really badly when they begin a detox process. And I've also seen in practice that sometimes it does more damage than good because of the way it is done. Would I suggest a serious detox any other time during the year? Most likely not. I would say change your lifestyle a bit, avoid the allergens or avoid certain things. But springtime is a great time to do an overhaul to your diet, or to introduce certain natural products to help with the process. Uh,
Okay. So I'm curious then, Dr. Krupa, on, this whole idea of why we really want to detox, going into that a little deeper and understanding. I mean, you say that people have been doing detox programs since ancient times. Talk to us a little bit more about that.
well, think about what happens to your house when you don't clean it, right?
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
dirt build up, dust. Same thing happens in our body, and our body loses its ability to heal itself because it's overburdened by the things that we're exposed to in our modern day world, from air pollution to food that we eat that may not be the highest quality or undigested properly. So that's why we detox. That's why our body naturally goes through it.
Okay, well, good. Well, there then are certain kind of symptoms, right, that we need to kind of pay attention to that might
Mhm.
actually be signs for us. Can you talk about that?
Sure. Migraines or headaches, sugar cravings, lower consistent energy, bloating, gas, caffeine addiction, binge eating or drinking, mood swings, irritability, anxiety, brain fog, difficulty concentrating, fluid retention. Those are all signs that our body is backed up with toxins and it's overburdened.
Wow, and I bet most people would say these are just common symptoms. Everybody experiences these, and they never really correlate that this could be part of toxicity in the system. And that probably could be the same thing that's true for kids as well.
Sure. Well, that commercial, a commercial for Folgers, right? You wake up in the morning and you're not even awake and you're barely drag yourself to the kitchen to press the button to make that cup of coffee, right? Or the jokes on the mugs of "Don't talk to me before my first cup." It's funny, but it's not normal. It's not our body how our body is designed to function. You're designed to wake up in the morning and be functioning and awake and happy and not grouchy. So for children, upset tummies, constipation, diarrhea, low energy, cravings for sugar, picky eaters, bedwetting, chronic infections, eczema is a classic as well, lack of behavioral self-regulation. So just tantrums, a child that uh, a tag in the back of their shirt can set them off and they'll scream for half an hour uncontrollably. Swollen tonsils is another classic sign. So if your child experiences any of these, we tend to think in compartments and say, well, I get that cream for the eczema, right? Or the antibiotics for the chronic infections, and that should take care of it. When in fact, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a symptom. Um, you don't see it for a while until it repeats again. So it's not a solution. These are symptoms that are screaming to look for something deeper going on inside.
Mm. So I love that you're suggesting that we really need to look at the root cause.
Mm-hmm.
And I would never have guessed that stress could be one of the major components to the root cause of toxicity
Sure,
and
absolutely.
detoxing.
As we talk more about the types of stresses, it will make sense. And you know, we can call it different names and different things, but basically it is stress. It is the body dealing with too much. It doesn't have enough energy to do what it's supposed to do throughout the day. Pump so many gallons of blood or process so many signals from the brain. So it becomes burdened.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow. And so you're suggesting that there's four different types of stress: the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about the physical?
Sure. Uh, on the physical level, it's the obvious things, right? So of course, let's say one of the first things I talk to parents about in my practice is birth, and I always ask questions, a lot of questions that sometimes raise eyebrows. Like how long was this stage of labor? How long was that? How did the baby present? What happened? Tell me all about the birth, because birth is the first stress, a physical stress that a baby goes through, and it affects the whole system. So in the chiropractic world, we talk about subluxation, which is a type of stress or a misalignment on the nervous system, which therefore affects all the functions of the body. It's mechanical stress placed on a delicate spine during the birth process, and it can cause nervous system interference and therefore less than 100% function. So in short, subluxation, or that stress on the nervous system, equals nervous system interference. And we know that the nervous system is the master controller of the body. So let's say, breathing, right? Breathing. What is it controlled by? It's controlled by certain nerves going to the brain, and the brain then sending signals to the lungs to expand and take in oxygen, and then breathe out. So it's something we may not be familiar with, but we do know certain things, especially in our Shakti world, how the brain is a really important organ in terms of overall function, right? And we've seen with some of the research on MindWorks how that is affected. So just think that nervous system, when it has physical stress on it, right, it doesn't function 100%, and therefore affects everything in our body. And birth is the first stress that physical stress we can experience.
Right, so, for the baby and for the mother.
Well, sure, yes, yes, absolutely, yeah, right. Elena was like, yes, and for the mother. So a question to ask yourself is, did my child, right, or even and like I asked my mom, what was my birth like, or she, we talk about, oh, when you were born, this and this happened. So these are clues as to our amount of physical stress that we were born with already, and therefore had to deal with our whole life unless it was corrected. A cesarean birth is stressful for the baby. A vacuum extraction, prolonged labor, so the 36-hour marathons to 48-hour marathons, right, that we sometimes experience. A breech presentation, or what's called cranial molding, which is not self-adjusted after 10 days. Cranial molding is when the baby's bones of the skull fuse together, and sometimes you may have seen kids, it's like there's an indent, or the head is not quite shaped, right. Or sometimes you'll see a little kid wearing a helmet, almost like a helmet-like device to correct that. That's definitely a sign of physical stress on the nervous system.
Wow, that is very, very important. And then we live in a world that has become very, very toxic, and the chemicals that we're exposed to can also affect that.
Absolutely, that's very obvious also, right? We know we live in a world of it's a toxic world out there. We live in it. We know this. Now we are aware of all these things. Home, school, our environment, even poorly digested foods can act as allergens and poisons to the body. So, a mom or dad might say, well, my kid eats okay. We eat all organic, and we don't we don't eat the red number 40 lollipops and all those things. We're fine. We're okay. It's not connected. It's not necessarily true. Especially, let's say that the baby is born via C-section and does not pass through the birth canal, right? Where most of the colonization of the bacteria come from mom. So it's like the immune system and the gut recognizes, oh, okay, this is what I'm being born to. This is what I have to deal with, and therefore develops the immunity. If that doesn't happen, then it's like the nervous system doesn't recognize its environment, and it's important to handle that a certain way so the baby's immune system and digestive system sets itself to function properly. Bacterial and fungal infections also stress the immune system. 80% of our gut is the immune system, or the immune system, 80% of it is in the gut. Medications and anesthesia can affect that immediately. So think about if you're a C-section baby, right? First of all, you didn't get the proper exposure to the bacteria. Mom has an anesthetic, which anesthesia drains B vitamins, so it's really important to replenish that afterwards. And there's a lot of medications, for instance, birth control pills before conception. And, if mom was on birth control for a while and then she gets off, and she needs to supplement because they do drain certain vitamins and minerals from the body. We are exposed to toxins such as plastics all the time. I mean, we all have plastics in our home. Plastics affect hormonal balance in women, for instance. The air that we breathe, we don't have control over that, right? We don't personally. We live in Santa Fe. We don't live in a city in a very populated city. But if for an extended period of time you did live in New York, Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta for a while. You're breathing all that in every day. And the body is exposed to it, so it has to do something with it. And this is the reason why we would want to detox. What else?
Well, there's the mental and the emotional trauma, which I don't think we even recognize as sometimes being stressful, and how that can affect our health and our ability to be able to detox.
Sure, it affects function. It affects your body. Think about how you feel, and I give an example over here, just how you feel in your body when someone makes you angry, right? There's these expressions that we have, like he makes my blood boil, right? Or she makes my blood boil. And we get all worked up, and our sympathetic nervous system kicks in gear and cascades a whole chain reaction of stress hormones, for instance. So if you're in a stressful situation, stressful job, for instance, for a couple of years, you're going through that every day. That is stress. It is going to affect your ability to digest food. It's going to affect your ability to sleep, and regenerate. And it's all connected.
Well, I love how you're really taking a very holistic approach at looking at this whole concept of stress and how to detoxify. And I know here in a minute we're going to really start talking about some common sense solutions. We've talked about some of the problems, but we've got to talk about solutions too. But I love that you are really addressing the spiritual side as well.
Yes, it's very, very important. I find in working with people, when we can tap and address that stress, everything else starts to work better, right? So the supplements that you're taking or the self-care routine that you implement, once you address this type of stress, they just, all of a sudden the body opens up and is receptive, to the nutrition you're putting in, to anything else you implement. And I found this very interesting. There was a study entitled Spirituality and Negative Emotions in Individuals with Coronary Heart Disease. And they found out that people who had certain characteristics or certain spiritual attributes did better, right, when they had, when they were diagnosed with coronary heart disease. And basically what that means is negative emotions contribute to disease, right? It contributes to disease because people who are able to turn into certain spiritual practices, or they don't have to be, in the context of a religious practice, but just something spiritual, like going outside and believing that you're part of something bigger than yourself, actually helps. They had better outcomes in this study of coronary heart disease than people who did not. And so, or just believing, that there is an innate wisdom inside of us that helps us heal our bodies is really important as well.
Right. So let's now kind of switch gears, because I think we need to be encouraged a little bit, and we know that you have some suggestions and some ideas of how to counter some of these negative things and problems, and actually move into a more positive solution base. So talk to us about KISS and how to minimize stress and nurture the body.
So KISS stands for Keep It Simple Stupid, meaning keep it simple. That, we get caught up in, what I notice is that we get caught up in, well, what do I do? Even in the holistic approach or more natural approach. Well, this for that, or this for that. And then we play cat and mouse, even with our approach to, health and well-being. And I think it needs to be simple. The more effective things are, I think the more simple they need to be. So if you can think of minimizing the stress and nurturing the body, right? So take away the bad stuff and fill it up with good stuff. You're on the right track. That's all you really need to, address.
So talk to us about where to start then, because we all want to know this. We want to know the simple steps, and I think it's important for us to have some positive, constructive solutions.
Okay. First and foremost, food. So we want to make sure that we eliminate artificial colors, sugars, additives, preservatives, allergens. If you know what they are, if you know and have been tested for what you're allergic to, by all means, get rid of those. Especially during this season when you're really symptomatic, just for a time, eliminate it from your diet. Gluten and dairy are the biggest offenders that I see in my practice. So maybe for up to 4 to 6 weeks, go ahead and stop eating gluten and dairy if the seasonal allergies get better, right? And it will help to detox the body. You want to nurture, right? So the nurture part is with whole foods, also known as not from a can. Vitamins, minerals, and essential nutrients. With children, I know it's tough to make dietary changes because let's say they're a picky eater and the only thing that they will eat is yogurt or whatever they're maybe, addicted to. So go slow and make some changes. It's sometimes daunting for the parents that I talk to overhaul the diet, right? And to get everybody involved. But understand that even removing one thing, like let's say gluten, will have a tremendous impact. And go slow and do something versus, being overwhelmed and not doing anything.
Right. And Helena, move the next slide and talk to us about some of those solutions as well.
Great. So for kids, right, we have some great products in Shaklee that I think are a must. So of course, throughout the year, not just during springtime or seasonal allergies. What you want to introduce is the basics. So the Vitalizer for men, women, we have Vitalizer that's for seniors. I think like everybody should be on the Vitalizer. If there's only one thing you do, it's do that, because the Vitalizer is a strip of the essential nutrients that we need. And it's not just any vitamin and mineral formula or supplement. We have an incredible delivery system that actually helps the nutrients to be absorbed. And I'll give you an example on myself. My Sage is about 20 months, and I took a prenatal, before I was pregnant, and then afterwards. And I did not feel any different, kind of low on energy and this and that and throwing up. And I had, the morning sickness. And afterwards, I was very vigilant about it too, because I was focused on breastfeeding and I wanted to have all the nutrients and, of course, pass it on to her. And unfortunately, it was a brand that was from the health food store, labeled all organic, natural, no additives, no preservatives. And I don't know, I didn't know any better at the time. And I accepted that this is the way it works, right? That, well, I'm taking the best, and I guess that's just the best I'm going to get. As soon as I started taking Shaklee, and that's when we met, I think Sage was about 6 months or so, or a little bit older. Within the month, I noticed a tremendous difference. First of all, when you take vitamins or a multivitamin complex, you see yellow in the toilet, and we accept that as normal because we think, oh yeah, it's the B vitamins passing through our body, and we absorb what we can and we don't need the rest, which is actually not necessarily true. And because the Shaklee Vitalizer has a special delivery system, right? The first 3 months, I never, ever saw yellow in the toilet until my body filled up on all the B vitamins that I needed. And then I started seeing just a little bit. So it let me know that I was getting these nutrients absorbed and deep into my body. Super, super important. And I love that it's convenient, Elena, because I get everything in one strip. So in the morning, I pop it open. I don't have 5, 6 different bottles that I have to open and swallow things. And the probiotic, that little pearl that we see on the end, is very valuable because it's a probiotic that gets absorbed deeply into our gut because it's triple coated. So where we need it most is in the colon and the lower, intestines. That's what's great about it, is that it actually gets there. So anyone who, of course, new mamas, but it's small enough that little babies, you can stick it on their cheek, even if they're small, and they easily swallow it. I love that for the kids.
And probiotics are just so important. I mean, I think we're learning more and more about the significance of how probiotics actually feed the gut and allow the food to be digested better, and some of the things that you were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm. If a baby was born via C-section, it's a must. If a baby, sometimes I met a mom the other day that unfortunately the baby was exposed to antibiotics in the hospital right after birth. And so, she got on the probiotics immediately want to give that to your baby if for some reason, if there's the risk of infection or whatever goes on and the baby's exposed to antibiotics, because you want to replenish the gut flora, because basically an antibiotic destroys everything, good, bad, and, and in between. And so then when kids are growing up and developing, their digestive systems are never quite right because they don't have the optimal flora to digest nutrients, but also to produce certain vitamins are actually produced by the bacteria in our gut. So then you can notice, deficiencies.
Mm-hmm. And did you talk a little bit about the kids stuff too, the Mighty Smarts and the Incredivites?
No, the Incredivites and Mighty Smarts. I love our little mascots in there. They're super, they're really good. They're good tasting. My little one just eats it up, and they're chewables. And what I found that I really loved with Shaklee is that it had better balance of the nutrients, right? So when you take certain over-the-counter vitamins for kids, they don't have quite as much of the essential nutrients as our Shaklee brand does. And Mighty Smarts is the DHA, and that's super important for kids' brain development, because kids develop, we think of them as small little beings, and we don't realize that they actually need almost triple the nutrition that we do because they grow at such a rapid rate, right? They develop, so they're developing organs, they're growing bones, they're growing, the neural connections. They need nutrients. So you want to make sure that the kids are getting all the nutrients they possibly can because they're growing so fast.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think the next important thing is our immune system in general and how that needs to be supported.
Sure, because in the springtime, when we're all, packing with whatever, the latest and greatest allergy, our immune system is trying to deal with the detox, right? That's where we feel the most. So our defend and resist, which is the echinacea, vitalized immunity, vitamin C, and the oh my gosh, help me out, Elena. It's the honeysuckle. So it's what's in our other formula as well.
The echinacea and the golden seal, is that what you mean?
No, the vitalized immunity.
Oh, the vitamin C, it has 16, the equivalent of 16 oranges and some zinc in it.
Right, but there is also the other ingredient, which is in
elderberry.
Right, which is important in regulating the immune system. It helps if the immune system is, let's say, overreacting, right, or underreacting, it brings it back to balance. So that's what I really like about it. And it's a fizzy, so it's like one of those fizzy orange drinks. It tastes really good. Our garlic complex and the immunity formula. So if anything, if you're wanting to support your immune system during this time, these would be the products that you would choose.
Mm-hmm. And it's not overdoing it when you make a choice to do some of these, one of these or a couple of these or all of them, because the body knows what to do with good, healthy, whole food supplements. And then there's actually detoxifying the liver, that we actually have the capacity to do that. I think is so wonderful. It's something that I do every single day because I'm never quite sure what condition my liver's in.
Right. So the alfalfa complex is really helpful. Herblax, you can dissolve it in juice for kids. Herblax, it will help the bowels move. You want to make sure that the bowels are moving, especially if you're deliberately doing a little bit of a detox, right? Eliminating certain foods or only focusing on, let's say, greens or doing some juicing or whatever you choose to do. You make sure that the bowels are moving, because otherwise what happens is, yes, the toxins, let's say from the liver, do get dumped into the bloodstream, right, and then into your colon. But if it doesn't go anywhere, it's going to get reabsorbed, and that can be a problem. You want the sustained release vitamin C up to 1,000 milligrams, even for kids. So vitamin C is not something that will build up or is toxic. The worst you can get is a little bit of loose stools with vitamin C, and that's around 3 times that dose. But 1,000 milligrams is recommended even for kids. Vitamin D and Vivix. Vivix is a great detoxifier. There is no, remember we talked about this because I was curious about Vivix. So there's no studies done on children, but parents have given children some Vivix. And the dosing guidelines from herbology, or my knowledge of herbology, is to give 1/5 of an adult dose for every 20 pounds, right? So if it's a teaspoon, teaspoon of Vivix for an average 150-pound adult male, then you would just dose it accordingly to your child. And it tastes really great. I've given it to my kids, and I've done it myself, and it really helps to detox. The chewable calcium and magnesium helps with growing pains, helps to go to sleep, helps to relax the muscles. Those first symptoms of when we start to detox, things start just coming out of the fascia and the muscles, and we feel achy, that sort of feeling. So that can help to relax and go to sleep. And then the Mighty Vites, which is the omegas for kids, because omegas are super important for inflammation. Inflammation is directly linked to the immune system, right? Inflammation is like when you get a scratch on your skin, what happens? It hurts, right? It gets red, and hot. It's what happens on the inside of our body sometimes when we are exposed to toxins, or if we eat foods that are allergic. The immune system reacts like that, but on the inside. That's the inside of your stomach, inside of your intestines, inside of your colon. So you want to keep the inflammation down, because it cascades a whole reaction on the inside. And omegas are important for that.
Thank you so much. And, putting this all together, eliminating toxins and supplying the right nutrients are so important to that whole nurturing the body. So talk to us about how we choose the categories and the products.
Sure. It could be overwhelming. Like, where do I start? So if you were to start anywhere, the vitalizer, like I said, you need the essential nutrients. You want to nurture. That's the nurture part. And then you take away the toxins. So something like a liver detox, you can start with the vitalizer and then add the liver detox or the defend and resist for the immune support, right? So if anything, just start with the essential nutrients and then choose one from those categories that we talked about. For example, a liver detox or the defend and resist to support the immune system.
All right, because it's so important that we support our body with good nutrition, because every cell needs a good supply of nutrients every single day. And then eliminating certain kinds of toxins that might be in our home just through the cleaning products that we use is so important.
Absolutely. Well, I think our homes these days are so toxic with all the chemicals that we use to clean it. So it's so counterintuitive right? To be, let's say, eating
Mm-hmm.
organic foods, but then cleaning with over-the-counter stuff. We have to green our homes, because we breathe that in, the fumes, or we wash the baby's clothes with the detergent and they start reacting to the chemicals that are in it. So then, of course, we can feed them well, but we also have to make sure that what they're exposed to is healthy.
Right. And then just dealing with life's little dramas, because we know that every day is not a perfect day. Talk to us a little bit about how we handle situations that happen that might not be the most comfortable for us during the day. What can we do for that?
Well, these are self-care tools that the sooner we incorporate them into our life, the sooner we're going to feel better. So I always say, learn a breathing exercise, right? Because stress happens every day, like you said, all the time. And especially for families, that's just unavoidable, right? Everybody has their meltdowns, and sometimes there are better days than others. And what's important is to teach our children these self-care tools from the get-go, so they know and learn how to self-regulate, right? Sometimes when I'm working with a child and we're trying to breathe and,
Whoops,
and
Selena, are
do
you
some
there?
fun stuff, um, I do a paper boat on their belly, and I tell them, make your tummy move the boat. Make your tummy move the boat, and that's fun, right? That's really fun and
Mm-hmm.
light, and they begin to, they do it, or they do it to entertain themselves too sometimes, and it just could be part of everyday life. Go outside, go outside, because that's one of those practices, like we talked about in that study. That's one of the practices that qualifies, or you can put in that spiritual category. You're exposed to, the trees, and just, we live in a beautiful place. I love being in Santa Fe for that reason, is that I walk outside, and I drive my daughter to school every day, and I look at the mountains, right? And even just witnessing that beautiful environment helps to just lower your heart rate, slow your breathing, help you make peace with what's going on. Talking about feelings in a safe space, enlist a counselor or a coach if you need to. Children, especially, they mirror our emotions, right? That old saying, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. That's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it rings true. Stress in the family sort of cascades. So make sure that you manage that, so there is more peace. And then support yourself. You have to support yourself with these self-care tools, because that's, there's no magic. There's really no magic anything. We need to incorporate those into our life and take our self-care seriously.
Something bigger than yourself is really very rewarding and significant, and lowers your stress level.
Yes, I do. I believe that. And I love that Shackley gives us that opportunity. There's so many ways to get involved, or even sometimes just learning something new, right? Like learning part of what Shackley has to offer and teaching others, right? When we solve a problem in our own life and then we extend that knowledge and that experience to help others, it is super rewarding. And sometimes it just helps us get over whatever's going on in our life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So detox, I'm beginning to really understand, is just a natural process that our body goes through every single year, and we can take the small steps to make that happen.
Exactly. And small steps lead to big results. That's what I always say. When I'm teaching self-care, when I'm suggesting these things, just do something. Just pick one thing and do it, and then you'll realize, wow, that's a nice habit I'm developing, right? I can take that 15-20 minute walk with the dog in the morning. Let's do that. And the next thing, okay, well, maybe I can do something else, or I can invest in a vitalizer. I can make peace with such and such. So small steps. Um, which would you choose to do today, right? If you get anything out of this call, is I hope that it's the inspiration to choose to do something in terms of self-care. Um, You need to support yourself and your kids with vital nutrients, minerals, and vitamins. Uh, give your home a makeover. Maybe that's what, everybody spring cleans, right? We kind of get a pep in our step and we want to clean up and start over. So start with your home. You know, get clean kit and start with your home. Commit to a positive attitude and doing things differently, because that's what will help you move forward. And then you can join the Shackley Effect or a mission in your community. Support yourself that way to help just get out of your own self, get out of your own way. Everyone is dealing with something, right? We're all dealing with something, and we can choose to make a difference, or we can choose to stay the same. And I hope that we step up and choose to make a difference.
Well, and what we've been doing is a whole series on empowering moms with the Shackley Effect. So take us home to the last page where bring us to a call of action.
Absolutely. So you can always reach out to me or Elena. And if you have any questions, if you're wondering, where do I begin? Is this okay for my kid? Maybe you have specific concerns for your child. You can always reach out and to, the two of us, and we'll be happy to chat. You can email me at wherefamiliesgrow@gmail.com. I'm available at 505-428-9591. And I also blog at drkrupa.wordpress.com. Just, my call to action is just do something to eliminate the toxins and nurture yourself and your family.
Right. Well, thank you, Dr. Krupa, so much for being a part of our conversation today and how to empower moms with the Shackley Effect. And you can also go to elenagd.com, where all of our Empowering Moms series is being archived. So we wish you a great day, and if you need any other assistance, please be sure to let Dr. Krupa or myself know. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Dr. Krupa.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.